Word up, Georgia Japan here. I'm going to be doing something a little different from what I usually do. I'm going to be doing a movie recommendation / review. The movie I'm talking about today is Saint Young Men. Now, actually this started off as a manga back in 2006, and I think they have 2 anime DVDs released before the movie in 2013. But I'm just going to be focusing on the movie. Yeah, so the basic premise of this story is it's Jesus and Buddha, and they live in an apartment in modern day Tokyo, and they just live a typical normal life. The story does not get religious or preachy or anything like that. There's not, I don't think there's like a deeper religious meaning to any of this. Through and through, this is a gag anime. A gag anime gets laughs from like misunderstandings and putting their characters in these really weird situations. And for me, the most important part of a gag anime is the image gap. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I have a thing for this image gap. And I think that's something that this movie does really well, is it creates a huge image gap, as these are 2 big religious figures living a very normal life in a small apartment as roommates in Tokyo. The gags in the movie do contain some religious references. Just for example, in the summer they have Jesus and Buddha go to a public pool. Jesus is having trouble swimming, so he parts the pool. And another one, they have them go to an amusement park, basically Tokyo Disneyland. They go to the light parade, and Buddha says something very enlightening, and he begins to glow. They are trying to maintain a low profile. They don't want to reveal these figures, so that's just part of the gag. Another awesome misunderstanding from the movie was when Jesus and Buddha go to the sauna, and there's like this Yakuza guy, and Jesus is starting to be friendly with him because he has a big Buddha tattoo on the back, which is a mark of him being a member of the Yakuza. But he's just being friendly with him. They're talking, chatting it up, and the Yakuza member notices his scar from when he was crucified, and he asks him about it, and he says he was crucified by the people. And the gang member misunderstands him as him being put in jail. He thinks he's, a gangster too. They start buddying up, and the Yakuza's like, they put me down for 7 years, how about you? Well, I was down for just 3 days. And he's like, oh, how'd you get out? How'd you get out of jail in just 3 days? It was the will of my father. Which leads the Yakuza member to believe that his father must be some kind of huge kingpin. On the whole, I would say these gags are pretty innocent and wholesome. And they definitely add a nice punctuation to each tiny story arc. But it's not the real reason why I enjoyed this movie. For me, what I really liked about this movie is how it shows a typical life in Japan. Yeah, so I'm from Hawaii. We basically have 2 seasons there. It's summer or spring. Not much changes. The 4 seasons of Japan and the different events that happen during the year are something I really admired and wanted to know more about. And yeah, if you watch this movie in total, I think you can really grasp what it's like to live in Japan for a full year. They enjoy the typical events that you'd experience throughout a year's stay in Japan, like going to the convenience store, going shopping, interacting with the locals, and everything is just kind of punctuated with a gag to end that very small arc. There's no like huge climax point in the movie, there's no build up to something. It's just a bunch of like short stories kind of woven together, and by the end of the hour 30 minutes, I just felt pretty happy, like I had lived a whole year in Japan. I mean, I've lived 14 years in Japan now, but if that's something you want to experience, like a 1 year stay in Japan, I think you can get that in the hour 30-minute runtime. One of the downsides of a gag anime is that the jokes could start to become stale or predictable, but I think during this runtime, everything's just still fresh. I mean, if you really enjoyed it, I guess you could go watch the other DVDs, or you could start reading the manga, but for me, this movie was just enough, and I'm very happy with it. If you can find it, I highly recommend watching it. If you live in Japan and you have Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure you can get it on there. And I'm pretty sure you could find it at like any rental shop in Japan. Yeah, video rentals are still a thing in Japan. They're still going strong. I think they got a few clips here on YouTube. Anyway, if you want to experience like 1 full year in Japan, experience the seasons and all the different events with some religious gags, this is definitely the movie for you. Thank you so much for watching, and have a glorious evening.